This may look like just another ship here at the Packer Avenue Marine Terminal in South Philadelphia, but it's actually history being made. Why is this ship's arrival so significant? Well, you're about to find out. Hello, I'm Brad Satin, and welcome to Ship Philly First, a presentation of PhilaPort, the program that gives you an inside look at how the Port of Philadelphia drives the economy, what's happening here along the shores of the Delaware River, and a glimpse into its bright future. Today, part one of a special edition of Ship Philly First, as we welcome the largest ship to ever arrive in the port's 300-year history. This ship's size is equal to the length of more than 3 football fields. In part one of this special edition, we're going to be talking with 2 port leaders about what the arrival of this ship signifies. We'll talk to the chairman of the Port of Philadelphia and to a key marine terminal operator. But first, more about the ship itself. The Port of Philadelphia is welcoming CMA CGM Marco Polo. CMA CGM is a French shipping company, and the container ship Marco Polo was, at least back in 2012, the largest container ship in the world. It no longer is, but it is the largest to ever arrive here, as more and more cargo does. Take a look at this chart showing the cargo growth over the past decade. By the numbers, the Marco Polo is more than 175,000 gross tons, 1,300 feet long and 175 feet wide, arriving here with, among other things, fruits and vegetables from Morocco. It's part of a new North America-Asia service called NAMEX for short. And we're going to kick things off by welcoming Michael Pearson, the chairman of the Port of Philadelphia. You've joined us here before on Ship Philly First. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the Marco Polo, this big ship, and its significance to this region.
Our port can now accommodate the largest ships in the world. We are ready as Philadelphia to take on larger ships and reignite what is our ability to compete with world maritime interests.
Let's talk about what it took to get here. Years and years of leadership with a vision, right? Funding, the hard work of labor, the deepening of the channel.
The payoff is huge because essentially we now can accommodate 16,000 TEUs. And I know if you don't have any relationship...
We'll say, right, what is a TEU, right?
Right. What is a TEU? A TEU simply is, if we look at a truck and the trailer it pulls, if you cut that in half, that would be 2 TEUs.
Like a tractor trailer.
Like a tractor trailer.
That's 2.
That's 2.
And this is 16,000?
16,000. And 16,000 TEU is significant for the Philadelphia port.
How does this position us against the competition now?
Philadelphia is in direct competition with some of our neighboring cities, Baltimore, Wilmington. With this, we can compete. We're now able to turn those vessels around, allow them to remove cargo, do it in a timely manner, and that means that more ships can come to our port. And Philadelphia has made a statement to the rest of the world that we're ready for business.
And let's talk about why that is important. Carriers and cargo owners around the world are watching. They see the Marco Polo coming to Philadelphia.
The Marco Polo is significant in that until you test out a theory where you can actually take that ship into your port, navigate the waters, and take that freight off, it was conceptually done, but now we've proven it with an actual ship. And now we can compete. Anywhere from 80 to 90% of maritime business can flow through our port.
I think it's interesting for viewers to really get a perspective of how big this ship is.
Well, here's an easy way to compare the size of the Marco Polo. For us Philadelphians, if we took one of the Comcast towers, probably Tower 2, we set it on its side, and then we parked the Marco Polo next to it, that would give you an idea of the scale of the Marco Polo. It would probably beat out the Comcast Center in terms of size.
How about that? And we think about the ships that go across the Suez Canal, the Panama Canal. How are they relative to the Marco Polo, and what could potentially in the future come to Philly?
Well, when I first joined the port as a board member, we were really lucky to have our governor at that time put the money before us that allowed us to compete with the Panama Canal competitive interests. We've caught up. We can handle Panama Canal-sized vessels. Well, the significance now is that we're now competing with vessels that will pass through the Suez Canal. Eventually, the port's going to have to go to 50 feet to keep up, not just with the turning basin, but the rest of the terminal and river need to be able to accommodate those larger vessels. So we're going to have to continue to dredge to 50 feet.
What's it going to take to get to 50, and what would that mean?
Well, first, let's do a little bit of history on what it took to get to 45. 45 feet required a lot of hard work by labor, Army Corps of Engineer professionals, port terminal professionals, the interests of Pennsylvania leading the way.
And just for perspective, we're talking about 100 miles or so, right?
100 miles of dredging, which would allow the larger ships to enter our port and accommodate the size vessels as the Marco Polo, which we consider modern, large, and the face of commerce. And without us dredging, we're not going to keep up with what we need. It's a beautiful thing catching up, but we need to compete.
Well, as chairman, you probably have a checklist of the other things in the future. I know there's a new berth coming here. I know there's talk of changing infrastructure, roads and rail and so forth. Tell us about what the future looks like in your
I'm
vision.
glad you mentioned a new berth. That's the first one in 50 years. And that requires us to have the support of the Commonwealth, which we do. We have a governor that is about getting things done, and that new berth is a sign of it. But it doesn't stop there. We really need the help of our neighbors. And when I say neighbors, I mean the state of New Jersey, and I mean the state of Delaware. It is necessary that our neighboring states get involved if we're going to get to 50 feet in a faster period of time.
Well, this is a good start. A big day with the arrival of the Marco Polo. It's pretty exciting.
Very exciting.
Chairman Michael Pearson, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And taking another look at the ship, it's registered out of the port of Nassau in the Bahamas. Its maiden voyage was on November 7th, 2012. And as we mentioned, at the time anyway, it was the largest cargo ship in the world. That only lasted, though, a mere 3 months before a larger container ship came along. And to talk more about the significance here, we're joined by Leo Holt, the president of Holt Logistics, affiliated with Greenwich Terminals, which operate all aspects of port services here. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for being here.
So you guys lease the Packer Avenue Marine Terminal, but this is hardly simply a landlord-tenant relationship, right?
Like any good marriage, it has its ups and downs. This one was made on the eve of the spring of 1988. So it's been a long time. Mm-hmm. It's been decades of investment on behalf of PhilaPort, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and our family.
As we kind of celebrate this big ship, how have things changed since 1988?
It is an absolutely different world in terms of technology. The youngsters that are in the business today are digital natives. They don't recall a day when there was only a few cranes, or even a few cranes that worked. Now they're blessed with technology that's safer, that's faster, that's more robust, and that's connected to the grid with a sustainability story that is a marvel for everyone to see.
What is the significance of the arrival of the Marco Polo?
The Marco Polo is one of many newer, bigger ships that are available in the world today to transport goods throughout the world. The Marco Polo for Philadelphia, and obviously we know who Marco Polo was and what he meant to the discovery of the East, is symbolic of the opportunity for Philadelphia to truly discover Asia in a way that it has not as a shipping hub.
Through this NAMEX service. What is that?
The NAMEX service is simply a service that Compagnie Maritime Affrètement, which is a fancy word for CMA, has brought to Philadelphia in order to bring its Far East cargo here, its Mediterranean cargo here, such as fresh fruit from Morocco, and arrive in Philadelphia on time, be worked quickly, and turn the vessel around.
And for those who may not know, CMA is the shipping company and one of the largest in the world.
Yes, CMA is owned by the Sade family, another wonderful story of investment and success. They have grown dramatically, and they are now number 3 in the world. I think the most important thing is that this is a direct connection to the Asian markets for Philadelphia. And it is with one of the largest steamship lines in the world. And it not only connects Philadelphia with the Far East, it connects Philadelphia with the ancient Mediterranean. This is very dynamic in terms of transshipment ports throughout, including Morocco, including Spain, including Greece, and including Italy.
And they are some of the fastest growing markets in the world as well.
100%.
Says a lot about Philadelphia.
100% correct.
What has it taken on Philly's part to make this happen?
It took the combined will of the electorate in Pennsylvania, the elected officials writ large across the entire region, and the support of the United States Army Corps of Engineers to think through, work through, and muscle through. We're talking about the natural depth of the river being 17 feet when the Revolutionary Fathers were here. And now we're going to 50, and it is very exciting times.
Well, there's been hundreds of millions of dollars of investment, not just by the Port of Philadelphia, but by your company as well. Where has that investment gone, and what difference has that made?
I think you can see probably the most manifest and most visible from anywhere in Philadelphia are the massive super post-Panamax container cranes. Beyond those, there are many tens of millions more that are gone into the ground. These are wonderful union jobs that have done the workup and the hard work of doing the infrastructure to make cranes like this able to run up and down these piers.
Well, when we talk about jobs in general, folks may say, well, what is really the significance? If I'm watching this at home and I see a really big ship coming, that's great, but so what? How do you answer that so what?
I say, so what if you're not the longshoreman? So what if you're not the teamster? So what if you're not working in all of the ecosystem that goes around the transportation network, including the railroads, the highways, the turnpike, the distribution centers throughout Lehigh Valley, throughout the Pennsylvania area, throughout South Jersey. These are all touches that port activity here in Philadelphia bring home to your family. So when someone thinks, so what, it's the kids in school, it's the kids going to high school, it's the kids going to college, all spill out of successful and safe arrivals and departures of vessels like the Marco Polo.
As we see this ship, how does it compare to what the competition is doing?
We think it's the biggest thing we've ever seen. It's just middle of the road right now. The ships that are turning out of shipyards around the world today, post-pandemic, are 20, 21, 22, and 23,000 TEUs.
Versus this one being 16.
Versus this one being 16, which, by the way, we are grateful to the Sade family and the people at CMA for bringing, and our other customers who bring ships that are just this large. What we really want to see is steady and dedicated service from all points of the world, opening onto the window of the U.S. economy that's called Pennsylvania.
And we often think about the import, but let's talk a moment about the exports here, how this will benefit farmers in our region, how it will benefit manufacturers in the area.
So indeed, the farmers and manufacturers in Pennsylvania make up an enormous part of the GDP of the Commonwealth, close to 40%, in particular in the dairy products business. Those farmers faced a lot of different choices over the years as to potential points of export. And in many cases, they were forced to haul to ports that were not in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, but instead to the south or to the north. This kind of a service gives them the opportunity to take those goods directly to market without any other port interfering.
Final thoughts as we see the arrival and unloading of this big ship.
I think the Marco Polo represents opportunity. The Marco Polo represents discovery. And I would recommend that everyone in the Commonwealth and the Delaware Valley writ large get behind her and make sure that she gets in and gets out, because what she's bringing is a lot more than just 16,000 containers. She's bringing decades of opportunity. So when we come back to the well for ideas, support, funding, and political will to deepen our channel even further, this is an example of what is the dividend when you invest in the Port of Philadelphia.
There is a payoff. Leo Holt, thanks so much for your time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
It is an important event for the Port of Philadelphia, the arrival of the largest ship the port has ever seen, the CMA CGM Marco Polo, and some important insights from key leaders. And we're not done yet. Be sure to check out part 2 of this Ship Philly First special, where we talk with PhilaPort's CEO to learn more about the significance of the Marco Polo's arrival on the entire region. And we'll also talk with a pilot who is part of the team that ensures these huge ships get up and down the Delaware safely. That's in part 2, available now. For more information on the Port of Philadelphia, just visit our website at philaport.com. For now, I'm Brad Satin. Thanks for joining us on Ship Philly First, and we'll see you next time.